Back on the Nation at 5 with a big development which also comes as relief for the Muslim side in Varanasi, where the district judge turned around and rejected the plea of scientific investigation that was made by the Hindu Paksh. The judge, while in his order very clearly, the court saying that since the Supreme Court has protected this entire structure, that is the Vazu area, and what the Hindu Paksh claims is the original shivling of Adi Vishweshwar, this was found during the Advocate Commissioner's survey. No scientific investigation that includes carbon dating can be carried out without risk to damage of the structure, and because of the Supreme Court's directions that everything there should be preserved and should remain intact as it was, this court could not take that risk and could not then go ahead and commission the scientific investigation. The other aspect that the court mentioned in its judgment is that the current requirement of a survey or an entire scientific investigation under the Archaeological Survey of India is not required at this point in time, because that carbon dating aspect of scientific investigation will not address the points in law that are presented before the court. Now we are given to understand that the Hindu Paksh will go back to the Supreme Court and ask the Supreme Court to then judge or decide on the aspect of scientific investigation, because you have the Hindu Paksh saying it's a shivling and the Muslim Paksh saying no, it's a fountain.
इस ऑर्डर के अगेंस्ट हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे, इस ऑर्डर को हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चुनौती देंगे। ये ऑर्डर अगेंस्ट द रिकॉर्ड है, क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 20 मई के ऑर्डर से ट्रायल कोर्ट को पावर दी थी कि वो सारी एप्लीकेशन डिसाइड करेंगे। दूसरी बात, ये मांग लेके हम सारे महिलाएं याचिकाकर्ता सुप्रीम कोर्ट गए थे और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा था कि आप ट्रायल कोर्ट को अप्रोच करिए। तो ट्रायल कोर्ट आज कह रहा है कि हम नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने सील कर रखा है। तो हम इस मांग को लेके अब दोबारा सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने जाएंगे।
आज प्लेंटिफ की कार्बन डेटिंग की एप्लीकेशन मुख्य दो बिंदुओं को, जो कि मेरा ऑब्जेक्शन में भी था, विचार अपने ध्यान में रखते हुए, एक तो ये थे कि साहब ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये कहा था कि साहब जो तथाकथित शिवलिंग है जो कमीशन रिपोर्ट में प्राप्त हुआ है उसको पूरी तरह सुरक्षित रखा जाए। तो जिला जज साहब का ये व्यू था कि साहब सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर है कि सुरक्षित रखा जाए। अगर कार्बन डेटिंग के संबंध में कोई ऑर्डर किया जाए तो उसकी सुरक्षा प्रभावित होगी, एक पॉइंट ये है। दूसरी, आम जनमानस की धार्मिक भावना आस्था को भी ख्याल रखते हुए उनकी कार्बन डेटिंग की एप्लीकेशन निरस्त किया है।
Let's try and go across to Subhash Jha, senior advocate, and Tushar Gupta also joining us at this point. I just seem to have lost my connection with the PCR. We'll try and connect with the control room again. But Subhash ji, I want to understand from you, is this, how would you see what the court's observations are today? Because there are two clauses. If you look at the original Supreme Court order, in that the point 2 bar 2.1 very clearly empowers the district judge. In this case, the district judge has turned around and said, I'm not empowered to opine on this.
In my opinion, the learned judge has completely misread the order of the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court has relegated the issue for being adjudicated upon by the district judge, how does he do it? I mean, he has to do it on the basis of scientific tests, and the scientific test would mean to include carbon dating test also. So, in my assessment, prima facie, I feel that this order is erroneous. And as Vishnu Jain I have heard him saying that he will go to the Supreme Court. Go to the Supreme Court and have the order clarified. That's the only issue. I don't think there's something like winning or losing at this stage. All that the learned judge seems to have not comprehended the order of the Supreme Court. And this invariably happens. Not for the first time. The High Court or the lower court not able to construe the order of the Supreme Court properly, and then a litigant going back to the Supreme Court and seeking verification is not something which is very uncommon.
But Subhashji, see, this is what 2.1 says. Civil suit number 693 of 2021 shall stand transferred from the file of the civil judge, Senior Division Varanasi, to the court of the district judge, Varanasi, for trial, and all interlocutory and ancillary proceedings in the suit shall be addressed to and decided by the court of the district judge. This is what 2.1 turns around and says. But there is also the last part which says that It says, unless adequate arrangements for ensuring the due observance of Wazu have already been made by district manager, we direct the district magistrate in consultant with the parties to ensure that appropriate arrangements are made for the religious observance. But they also say that pending disposal of the application, that this place should be secured, that this place should be marked out. That is also part of this very order. So now the judge is saying, So is the judge right in interpreting it that way, or was the judge actually empowered based on the Supreme Court's order?
I think, as I've said you, that the learned judge has completely misconstrued the order of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's order only says that we protect the structure, and by ordering a carbon dating, which is a scientific method of establishing the age of a structure, has got nothing to do with not protecting. So the learned judge is seeking to construe that issuing order of carbon dating would seek to interfere with the protection of the shrine or protection of the structure. In my assessment, that is not the correct interpretation at all. The learned judge, the Supreme Court, as you rightly said in the first part of the order, has relegated the issue for adjudication. How do you adjudicate a dispute unless until you do this structure which is age old? How do you decide this?
Or do Tushar Gupta? Tushar Gupta is also with us of Swarajya. Tushar, do you believe the judge has said, don't put it on my head, just go back to the Supreme Court? This is like, typically it reminds me of file being passed around in bureaucracy. उसके पास भेजो, जिसके पास जाना है उसी के पास पहले गए थे, but वो कहता है सबके पास घूम के आओ फिर बाद में मेरे पास आओ.
Anand, the irony is the truth is before our eyes. The shivling is before our eyes. We all know what it is. Even if the other side wants to claim it's a fountain that descended from the heavens, we all know it's a shivling. But at the end of the day, we need tangible proof. That is how the law of the land works, and it's only possible through scientific excavations. It's only possible through some scientific process. It might be carbon dating. It could be something else. That for the experts to decide. But it has to be a scientific process. What is the judge wondering here? Is he thinking that the two parties will get in a court, there would be documents exchanged, debates would be held? That is not the case here. It has to be a scientific process which decides the legitimacy of the mosque that has been built over the shrine. That is the first aspect. Now, the second aspect you pointed out very correctly. The judge probably wanted to dodge a bullet. He wanted to give it a pass. He did not want to make the difficult announcement because it doesn't really add up that you want to protect the structure also, but you also decline the existence of the structure by saying that a scientific process की क्या जरूरत है, जो है जैसा है चलने दीजिए. So ये approach it doesn't add up really.
No, but Subhashi, the other part, the court also notes that ordering ASI for carbon dating won't help it in answering the questions of law involved in the suit. Would you agree with that? Because bulk of the petitions are challenging based on what each side is claiming exists there in the Gyanvapi Parisar.
See, I tell you, if you ask me a question, I would answer in a different way.
Ji.
How do you decide the structure? Now, see, please try to understand what is happening. When the issue comes of deciding an issue of Islamic faith, then you take recourse. The Supreme Court of India has placed reliance on Quran, on Sharia, and so many other things. So therefore, place reliance on our religious texts which are so old. No such exercise, in my assessment, if you ask me, of the suit, etc., is absolutely unnecessary exercise in futility. In my assessment, if you ask me to adjudicate, I would adjudicate on the basis of our religious text and decide. Where is the question of filing suit and fighting for years together and centuries together? This is all absolutely unwarranted and unnecessary exercise in my assessment. And having said that, it doesn't matter. Now, the learned judge is trying a suit. How does you otherwise adjudicate upon the issue? All this exercises in case of Ayodhya. Carbon dating and finding the age of those stone structures which were found beneath the structures. Now, all these exercises have been gone into by the courts. Eventually decided the complex issue.
Absolutely. Subhashji and Tusharji, thank you very, very much for joining us here on The Nation at 5. We hope to be able to speak with the main petitioner in the case, Vishnu Shankar Jain, or the lawyer on behalf of the petitioner, and one of the petitioners among the 5 ladies who moved the court later tonight on the right stand. For the moment, taking a very short break. When we come back, an interesting story from Uttar Pradesh where the madrasa survey is on, but reports suggest that in about 20 districts, nearly 800 of them are not following due process. Stay with us. We get the Madrasa Board Chairman to speak with us on The Nation at 5 when we come back.